Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to join us today on the Parent Teacher Student Check-in. It is week 116. Wow, Parent Teacher Check-in is over a decade, over a century now, and a teenager. I was trying to say something there, but it didn't work out. But thank you guys for joining us on this lovely, lovely day. Let's get into it, right? Today's topic is creating a vision for the future of mental health. Just like last week, we're always talking about mental health here on the Parent and the importance of making sure we're taking care of ourselves and our community and the people around us. So we're gonna have a great discussion today with our special guest. This is the Parent Student Check-in, mental health being our vision. Checking in is a big part of mental health. Make sure you check on your friends, your family, supporters around you. So let's get into it. The Parent Teacher Student Check-in. So let's check in. Shaka, how you doing today?
Woo, you got it. You got it today, Dominique. You gave me my Hollywood Squares just the way I like, where I get an opportunity to see all of the wonderful faces at the same time. I am phenomenal by the grace of God. I am right now bubbling over, looking at the weather and wanting to be outside. So hopefully you are enjoying us in that wonderful weather. And if you are not, we hope that this show brings you the same sunshine that you would have got if you were out there. So how are you, Dominique?
I am tired. I feel so exhausted. I don't even know why. I just got over a cold. I feel a lot better than earlier this week. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Okay.
And right after this, I will take a nap. But I say that every week, I feel like.
Okay. All right. So we got our brother Roland Nicholson over in, he was a former guest of ours, and he is joining us on the show. But before he was having some technical difficulties, but we feel his love, we feel his warmth regardless. And we're going to introduce our guest in a little bit. But before we do, we're going to talk a little bit about the Parent Teacher Student Check-in and how it was started. And it started about 3 years ago during COVID. And as a matter of fact, they have just said that COVID is no longer of epidemic proportions. So they've removed the urgency or whatever the label is that classifies this as an emergency. It has now been lifted. So we can officially say we are post-COVID. But during COVID interrupted our normal connections and interrupted the way that we relate to each other. And during that time, we were all behind closed doors, behind our four walls, and there was an enemy out there. We didn't know what it looked like. We didn't know what form it was, nor how it was going to assault us, but we still stayed behind our four walls and tried to resume life as we normally did. Well, that presented a particular problem for teachers and parents who were teachers, as they were saddled with the responsibility of having to educate their own children in addition to the students in their classroom all at the same time, without any voice. So our founder, Dr. Shango Blake, decided to embark upon starting this show to provide voice to our parents and our teachers. And he used to always say, if you want to yell, then yell. If you want to scream, then scream. This is the place to do it. After that point, the show evolved just a little bit, and we started to provide voice to the social injustice that we were seeing. We're talking about Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and so many other names. I wish the names would just end. I wish the situation would end so that the names can end. But we provided a voice to the community because that also happened during COVID and during the quarantine era. After that, we evolved yet again and started to bring you new and innovative topics and people who were doing wonderful things and conversations that were taking place in our kitchen tables that we felt really should be taking place in a broader context. And it wasn't exactly getting mainstream media. So that's where the parent teacher student check-in came in, at introducing you to ordinary people who are doing extraordinary things, making them extraordinary and letting you know that you can also be extraordinary. So today we have a special guest. We have one of my fellow clinical social workers. She is a mother. She is an entrepreneur. She is the founder of North Node Therapy. She is the founder of, help me out here, help me out.
Creating Change Coaching.
Creating Change and Culture?
Coaching.
Yes, okay. Creating Change Coaching. So this woman is a go-getter in every sense of the word, the imagination. I mean, she is the picture of what I believe success should look like. She has done so many wonderful things, got a family, got a business, still out there doing work for our community. I want to recognize and lift the name up of our guest currently, Miss Nadaria John. How are you today?
I am great, especially after that wonderful introduction. I feel blessed to be here. So thank you very much for asking, and thank you all for having me. It's my pleasure to be here and an honor.
Okay. Now, Nadaria, I've heard so much about you without knowing that you were you, and it doesn't surprise me because you are an amazing woman, but you've managed to do something which is start your own mental health facility and, well, in person. You know what? Why don't we just ask you and find out, what do you do, Miss Nadaria John?
So I have two businesses right now. Well, I have three businesses, but two that I primarily am focusing on right now. I have Creating Change Coaching, which was my first business. I founded it in 2017. And it was, I wanted to begin helping people through life coaching services. So I started a coaching practice, and it was primarily towards helping women go after the life that they want. So I had a coaching course, or I have a coaching course, I should say, called Manifest Her. And I offer one-on-one coaching as well as group coaching, where I am walking women through a series of steps on how to manifest the life that you want. I also have North Node Therapy, which is my private practice, a group private practice. And that is a group private practice that is geared towards providing a safe place for persons of color to be able to work on their mental health needs. Right? I started that business in, I believe it was 2019. And that came as I was working in the field of mental health myself. I've been in the fields of human services for about almost 20 years, or about 20 years now. And so in that, I'm going to say that I started off working at a Jewish organization. And they primarily served the Jewish community, but there were a lot of persons of color, primarily Black people, that came to that organization for services. And I noticed how happy they were all to see me. And I noticed how happy I was to be working with them, even though I was at this organization and people were like asking to be reassigned to me. They were just so excited. And, I think once we got behind closed doors, there was this sense of, I have this person who understands me. I have this person that I don't need to, certain things just don't need to be explained because you get it, I get it. We just, it just was this sense of, I'm going to say familiarity that was there, that I found that my clients had a sense of ease working with me. And so from that experience, it was like the light bulb went off, where I said to myself, so, Black people do want therapy. right? Because that was the thing that people always said, that Black people don't want therapy. And now I'm sitting here and I'm just like, no, we do, but we just want it in a safe space. We want it with someone who looks like us, who understands us, who's not going to judge us or misunderstand us, whether purposely or just because they just don't get it. And so I created North Node Therapy, which is a safe space for us to come and get our services.
Wow. Now, were you born fabulous? Or, I mean, where did all of this fabulosity come from? Where did you get the unction and, first off, tell us where you're from. Tell us about the humble beginnings. And when I say that, I don't know exactly what socioeconomic class you might be coming from, but I mean, since you said that you weren't born fabulous, I imagine that came from somewhere. Can you trace?
So yes, definitely humble beginnings. Raised in East Flatbush, Brooklyn. Shout out. And parents are Jamaican, and yeah, we came from middle class working family. As a matter of fact, middle class, dad being the working person and mom being the homemaker. So definitely humble beginnings, but strong family background where mom was dedicated to raising us, and we were provided with, I'm going to say, our Caribbean, our Jamaican background, even though I was raised in Brooklyn. And I think as a culture, Jamaican people, we work hard. And so that was embedded in me, to work hard, to go after what I want, to not settle. Even though mom was a homemaker, she definitely pushed me to want more than that for myself and to go for higher education. My parents, I'm going to say typical Caribbean dreams, they pushed me to be a doctor. Right. I think that's always the thing, the doctor and the lawyer for our community. But as I got older, I was just like, I am not going to be a doctor. And I started to think about myself and who I was and what I wanted. And I realized that I like to talk. That's what I do. Right. As a schoolgirl, I was definitely that was my thing on the report card every year. She talks too much in class. Right. And so the thing that I got in trouble for, here I am now getting paid to do. So I think that's my story, that I'm a talker. I've been a talker. I've always loved connecting with people, helping people. I've always been curious. And seeing things. Say that again?
You're describing me right now as well. So I was like, how do I embed this into my life?
Right. You feel like I'm talking about me and you here, right?
Yeah.
Definitely, I've always been a very curious person. Always, growing up in East Flatbush, you see a lot of things. Right? Go shopping on Church and Utica. That's my stomping grounds, where, you could just see any and everything happening at any moment. And I think I was always curious about, but why? Why is this happening? Why are they doing that? But why? That was always my question. And I was always that kid that it was just like, but why? And then you give me an answer and I'm just like, okay, but why? Right? And so naturally, I went into the field of mental health to try to get a better understanding of, but why? And so here I am.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
I always say that social work, I didn't choose social work, but social work chose me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that has happened in your life? And what situations have uniquely qualified you to be a social worker? Because I always find that there's always some.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say, I guess in a sense, yeah, social work chose me. I can say that too. As a girl, I was always like the younger person in the crew, for whatever reason. And yet people were always coming to me for my opinion. Like everybody wanted to talk to me, hear what I had to say. And I found myself giving advice to these older friends, and people really valued my opinion. So I think as a younger person, social work chose me in the sense, or being a therapist chose me in the sense that I realized that I enjoyed problem solving. I enjoyed supporting people as they work through their own stuff. And I didn't necessarily look at it like that's what I was doing, but somehow or the other, that's just what was happening. I think I'm that person that I'm standing in the bus stop and a random person just wants to tell me what's going on in their life, right? And so naturally people flock to me for that. So yes, I think I was just born to be in the field of mental health. Yeah.
Okay, it looks like our sister Dominique is going to go for a career change because she seems to be resonating with so much of what you're saying. She might just get a revelation over here and drop the architecture and come on over here to the social sciences.
Well, I'm welcoming you. Come on over. Come on over.
Be in touch.
Yes, you might have a second career.
You never know.
Yeah. So what made you believe or think that you can do what you're doing now?
What made me believe that I can do it? I don't know if I believed as much as I thought I'm going to go after it, right? I'm just going to put myself out there. I did the schooling. I did, I followed the steps of what was there, right? As a social worker, I did my 7 years of schooling to get my master's, and I worked in the field. I got my LMSW, my first license, and I put in my hours and I followed the steps. And then it got to the point where I was able to start my practice. Mm-hmm. And it was a little scary. It was a little nerve-wracking. And I think I went through what everybody else goes through when you're about to step out and do something big. I had all the what ifs. And I remember talking to a colleague of mine who we were both working together and at this Jewish organization that I mentioned. And they had started their private practice and they were telling me it's going so well. And I was just like, well, what if and what if? I wonder for myself. And they were just like, why don't you just get out of your own way? And I was just like, there's a thought. And that, I literally took that with me. Like, I should just get out of my own way. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to set up my Psychology Today profile, literally that day. I was like, I'm just going to set up my profile. I found executive suite because that was before telehealth was really popping like it is now, right? So I found an executive suite that I was able to rent by the hour as needed. So I was just like, okay, I have this location that's not going to cost me until I have my first client.
What is an executive suite?
An executive suite is, there's this agency named Regus. That's the one that I use. I think you're saying something, Shaka, but I can't hear you. I don't know what's happening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Shaka? Yeah, Shaka, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you anymore.
Okay, you gotta just hop out and hop back in. Just hop out and hop back in, and we'll continue.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can y'all
hear
me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. I ran
okay.
down here and have my Bluetooth still connected, so someone must be upstairs. Maybe the dog got it, or I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry about
so
that.
Right, so an executive suite. So there's this agency that I use. The name of it is Regus, and what they do is they rent office space to professionals, and you get a membership, and you can either rent by the day or by the hour, or get a lease for a year. And so initially, I didn't know what to expect, so I got a membership with them that gave me access to, being able to rent an office by the hour. So I got all the information that I needed, and I said the day I get my first appointment, I booked my first hour. I put myself on Psychology Today, and I was there for about 3 months before I got my first client and rented my first hour at the suite. But it's like after that, I remember I put myself out there in September, and by mid-December, the calls just started coming, and it started coming, and that was in 2019, and they are still coming. And so it was just a wonderful thing. And so hour by hour by hour, until before you know it, I had a full day. And once that full day was consistent for about 6 months, and I realized I'm getting a full day, and now I'm actually can have more if I want to. I'm now turning clients away. I was just like, I want to do this full time. I want to go into it. Like I saw that what I was thinking was really possible and it was happening. And I talked to my husband and I was just like, hey, I want to do this. And he's just like, go for it. It makes sense. And so a few months in less than a year, as a matter of fact, I think in about maybe 9-10 months, I was talking to my supervisor that I'm handing in my resignation because I started my practice. It's going well. I really believe in it. I'm really passionate about it. And it's something that I wanted to do. And of course, that was a scary move, right? Because you're giving up security for something that you don't really know, but no regrets. It was funny. It did get tricky at one time because, again, I left my job. My last day at my job was the end of December, maybe let's December 20 something of 2019. So I rent my office. I went from renting by the hour to now saying, hey, I'm just going to take on a lease for a year, January 2020. March 2020, the pandemic happens and we go into a lockdown. And I'm just like, what's about to happen here? What did I do? I don't know. I call all my clients and I'm just like, we're in a lockdown, but I am offering telehealth. Immediately, I made the switch. And I was just like, I'm probably going to lose the majority of my clients. Oh my God, what's going to happen? I did not. In 2020, I worked more than I've ever worked in my entire life. The world was anxious, right? Everyone was frightened. I think anxiety was at a high. And so I was working, as a matter of fact, because I was working from home, I think that I was overzealous and I didn't even have like a real schedule. It was just like, listen, I'm getting the calls, I'm taking them, I'm working, like, this is wonderful. Business is flowing. And it really worked out for me and no regrets. We all know that things happen along the way in the world, not only the pandemic, but George Floyd, which again, made me really see that Black people wanted Black therapists, right? So there were a lot of people coming to me saying, I'm so frustrated with my job. They don't understand what it's like. I'm so frustrated with my therapist. They can't even relate to how painful this is to watch another Black person get killed, and I was able to support people through that and create that space. And I think shortly after that is when I actually hired my first clinician. Right. I transitioned to a group practice because I realized I'm getting the calls, I'm getting the work, and I can hire someone. And I did. And long story short, right now, today, my practice has about 8 clinicians.
Ooh.
And so very happy. And we're all doing our thing and it's growing and flowing. And yes, ordinary people doing wonderful things. And I feel good about it. And I feel blessed.
Okay. So it sounds like you had the faith.
I did.
And you got out your own way.
I got out on my own way.
So just for clarity, which business is this? Because apparently you have 3, right? So which one was that one?
So, okay. So I have Creating Change Coaching, which is the coaching business. Then I have North Node Therapy, which is what I was talking about. That's the group practice. Yes. The third business that I have is actually Creating Change Guided Journal, which is a guided journal that I created that I'm currently revamping before I put back out there. But it's a journal, it's a guided journal that's filled with a bunch of tools that I usually do one-on-one with my clients when we're in therapy. So it has it's a gratitude journal. There's a coping plan for what to do when you're under stress. There's positive affirmations. It's just a bunch of tips and tools that people would use. There's a section to reflect on your day and just reminds you of a bunch of things that you need to know, positive quotes, adult coloring pages, things like that. So I created the journal in 2021. I've since had new ideas and I was like, I want to revamp it. So I'm hoping it's supposed to come back out again in about June, July, next month or in a month or 2. And so that's business number 3.
Okay. Look at you out here.
I heard it all. I'm sorry. I just had to excuse myself knowing that that situation was going to repeat if I didn't take care of it. So, now we should be able to go straight through. Yeah. So what I was saying is it sounds like you got out of your own way and you took a step and things were revealed, and then you took another step and more was revealed. Absolutely. So it wasn't like you started out with an entire plan. And I think that's important for a lot of people is because, they see people like yourself that are so accomplished and believe that you always were accomplished, like you just came out the womb accomplished, and that you didn't
Got
have
everything
these
together.
setbacks, and you didn't have these feelings of insecurity and not knowing if you were going to make it,
Absolutely.
So, but I want to just pause right here for a second and recognize our other co-facilitator, our other co-host, Ron London. How you doing today, Ron?
I am rich. I'm rich. I'm actually in transit. The kids getting them back from after school and whatnot. So I'm on the bus, but I should be home shortly.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. So, okay. So as I was saying, this is an organic show. We don't try to exude this spirit of perfection in terms of how we bring the message. Hopefully, the message that's given is one of the things that may be perfect, and we hope that lands where it needs to land. But we like to highlight the humanness of us all and the fact that these things happen.
Absolutely.
Things don't always go the way that they're supposed to go, and as a matter of fact, that's one of the things that make life so interesting, is when things don't go the way they're supposed to go, and how we overcome these daily obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that keep us away from our dreams, because a lot of times people think, oh, if there's trouble this way, then that means it's not supposed to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
agree with you, Shaka. They said, I said, I agree with you. We can't wait for perfection, and it's not necessary. The saying is that perfection is the enemy of good. Right. And so we definitely don't need perfection. Sometimes we just need to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, have you had any of those bouts with perfection and feeling like you had to be perfect and then realize that you were enough?
I'm sure I have. I'm sure that I have had moments where I have aimed for perfection, but I realize that in those moments, I also create my own anxiety and my own stress, and that most people aren't expecting that from me. That's a pressure that I put on myself. And so what I remind myself now is that I'm a human. And so every day I'm just trying to have a human experience. And
sorry.
Say it again,
you're telling me that people don't expect you to be perfect all the time, every day of your life?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. And I know that, what I realize, I don't expect people to be perfect every day. So I don't think that people really expect me to be perfect. Sometimes I think that we project that onto ourselves, and we think that that's what people expect from us. And I'm sure under certain circumstances that is true. But I think 9 out of 10 times, like Shaka said, this is an organic environment. Right. And I feel like a lot of times where I move and where I function, it's in organic spaces where people are just expecting me to show up and be good, but not perfect. I think most people understand that, what is perfection? We're all human. We're all flawed. And so, like I say to my clients, you're not going to be the first perfect human being to walk this earth. It's not going to happen. Right. And while we're trying to do that, we're missing out on so much. We're stressing ourselves out. We're creating anxiety. And so I try to take my own advice. Right. And just try to be good.
Okay. So mental health is a big buzzword now, and it seems to be garnering center stage. And you seem to have your finger on the pulse in terms of Black mental health. So how is it that you vision or fancy your company to deal with the mental health of Black people, or whatever your population is that you serve?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I have come to realize is that while clients are coming to us because, they feel like, you're another Black person, you're going to get it. We as therapists still have to remain curious about each person as an individual and not make any assumptions about our clients that because we're all Black and because we're all Caribbean or because we come from the same place, that we automatically are going to have the same story. So it is my job to remain curious about each individual, that walks through my door, or in this case, enters my Zoom and is wanting to work with me, right? And to get to know that person and to figure out, what is your story? Who are you? Why are you here? What do you need support with? And so that's it.
Okay, well, right as you were answering that question, we got a nice tangential question to follow up. And it's from our brother Ron, who is on the bus. He says, how do you overcome these moments of self-doubt and self-sabotage while obtaining tangible goals? What a wonderful question there, Ron.
That is a wonderful question. First things I would say is that I am not an island, meaning that I have good people in my corner, right? I have friends, I have family, I am a therapist with a therapist. And so I rely on my support system for support. I used to make the mistake of trying to figure out every single thing on my own. I don't anymore. I don't have to. And every once in a while, I think I fall back into old patterns of doing that. But I remind myself that, just ask somebody. And when I'm talking to people, people are reminding me, like I keep people in my corner who just affirm me while they're talking to me. And so that's important, right? And yeah, I try to I think that's it, relying on my support system to keep me going.
Okay. So what do you think is the biggest issue to Black people going towards seeking greater mental health?
Mm-hmm. I think that the stigma is there. I think a lot of times when I listen to Black people in the past, what I've heard is that therapy was for wealthy people or people of a higher socioeconomic status. They think of people who are really struggling with psychosis. And that's what they think of when they think of therapy.
What psychosis?
I say psychosis, someone who is struggling with symptoms of, I'm going to say something like schizophrenia, poor reality testing, and just difficulty. How do I say?
Who was out of touch with reality.
Someone who's out of touch with reality. There you go. Thank you, Shaka.
I just have to ask these questions. We want to make sure that our viewers know exactly what's being said. So when I ask these interrupt you, it's really to break down some of the things that you're saying for our viewers who may not know.
Understand what psychosis is. Absolutely. And so, yes, that was the best way to put it. Someone who is out of touch with reality. And so I think a lot of times people see that and they think, yeah, well, that person needs therapy, but I'm just, a little sad. I'm just a little, just having a hard time today. And they don't realize that literally any and everyone can benefit from therapy at some point in their life. And so, that's something that I try to, stress upon, is that anybody can benefit from therapy. I almost feel like I lost the question. So remind me, what am I answering again?
The question was, what do you think are some of the complications with Black people getting therapy?
Yes. And so I think that a lot of times we don't believe it's for us. Once again, I think we think it's for people of a different socioeconomic status or people that are really struggling with their mental health. And we don't realize that any and everybody can benefit from therapy. I think that we have been trained as a community to take our problems to God. We have been trained to keep our problems to ourselves and to be private about what we're going through a lot of times. And I think some of that has become a hindrance. And I'm all for church. I grew up in the church, so I do believe that there is that leaning on your faith is important. But I also feel that you can do both. It doesn't have to be either or. It doesn't have to be take it to God or go to therapy. It can be take it to God and go to therapy. And so I think that that's important. I think also, going back to socioeconomic status, a lot of people don't realize that their health insurance pays for therapy. And so people think, I can't afford therapy. And the reality is that they probably can, because your insurance will probably cover most of it and you'll just have your copay. So I think if more people knew that their insurance would pay for therapy, they might take advantage of it. And if they weren't afraid to be vulnerable and tell their
Or,
story and talk about what they're going through, they would go.
or EAP. Can you tell us what EAP is?
EAP is Employee Assistance Program. And so a lot of jobs offer EAP where your employer will pay for your first few sessions. And usually they cover it at 100%. And sometimes I think it's the first 3 or 6 sessions, depending on what the plan is that your employer will cover for you. I know a lot of times when people have EAP, they also have insurance, but maybe they have a higher deductible. So your job offers you that, and then you get your introductory to therapy. And then if you like it at that point, you usually say, okay, I see the benefit, so then I'm going to start paying for it out of pocket. But EAP is the Employee Assistance Program.
Now, I hear a lot of people saying that we in the Black community come from strong ancestors who had to deal with far worse than we are currently dealing with, and almost feel like it's an insult to their ancestors to go to therapy because their ancestors were able to toe the line. What would you say to that?
I wouldn't say that it's an insult to our ancestors to be in therapy. I don't know if therapy existed back then. I don't think so. And I think back then there was a different sense of community, right? Where people also leaned on each other in a different way that we don't necessarily have today. So people, I think, had informal therapy in many ways. So it's not an insult. Times have changed so much where now therapy is present, and why not take advantage of it? I think that something that we have to know if we're going to talk about our ancestors is that your story and your trauma, it all lives in your DNA. And so in order to protect future generations, it's important that everybody tends to their mental health. It's a way to break the generational cycle and break generational curses, right? So for every time that I work on myself and improve myself, I'm bettering future generations. I'm improving my children and my children's children and children to come, right? So we're working on generational health when we come to therapy and work on ourselves.
And that sounds like a shirt that I saw. It said, either go to therapy or have children that will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you said that everybody can benefit from therapy. Why do you feel that?
Everybody has a story. Everybody has had some sort of experience that at some point or the other, they keep it to themselves, or that they have shared it with someone, but they feel like they didn't quite get the support that they were looking for to deal with that thing. When you go to therapy, you are going to talk to someone who is more than likely going to validate you, help you work through whatever that situation is, and give you tips and tools to take care of yourself. Why not go to therapy and get that? I look at therapy as the gym for your mind, right? We go to the gym and we exercise our body. Go to therapy and exercise your mind, work on your mind, learn how to take good care of yourself, learn how to think in a different way that is going to benefit you and serve you. That's what therapy is. So why shouldn't everybody go and learn how to think in a way that is going to be productive?
Okay. All right. We got a question from our brother Ron, who is paying some wonderful attention and still managing to participate despite where he is at this point. So we definitely give him a shout out for doing so. His question is, what advice do you have for a couple being the first generation in their respective families that are working on breaking those generational issues?
I would say, of course, go to therapy. But whether in therapy or outside of therapy, as we all know, the cliche thing, communication is key. Couples, no matter what stage of your relationship you're in, you always need to be communicating. I have been married for 18 years. We haven't stopped communicating, right? Communication is always going to be key. Talking about where you are in life, where's the other person in life, where do we want to be, how are we doing as a couple? I think a good practice for all couples is to have regular check-ins with each other. Weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, hey, how are we doing? How are you feeling about me? How am I feeling about you? How are we feeling about us? And be really ready to answer those questions honestly, be ready to hear the honesty, and be ready to figure out, hey, what do we do next? How do we continue to take care of each other and nurture this relationship? And of course, figuring out at what point do you guys include a third party, a therapist, if need be.
We're about to have me and my wife sign up right now.
Listen, couples therapy it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, but I think it's important for us to see that there are these healthy spaces for us, and there are places for us to grow, and there's nothing wrong with it. So,
Mhm.
Ron said, "I asked the question. We are
We're
first."
first.
That list
Speaking
is
of
gonna
which,
keep going.
speaking of which, we usually wait for the end, but I'm not going to do that. Where and how can we contact you? Should we need or can benefit from your services? What insurances do you take? What is your specialty? Let's get all of that.
Sure. So the name of my practice is North Node Therapy. And so you can find us at www.northnode, therapy.com. The phone number is 929-366-7302. Most of our clients either email us or message us through the site. As far as insurances that we take, it is $11.99, Aetna, Cigna, Northwell Direct, MagnaCare. Thank you. Yeah, she pulled up the site. United Healthcare, Oxford, UMR, Medicare. I don't know if I'm missing any. If I am, forgive me. But we also take out of network coverage, and we offer a sliding scale fee for people who really want to be in therapy, but our price is also, just not realistic for them, but that's on a case-by-case basis. So absolutely, as a matter of fact, if you click on our therapist, I think that's there, you can see some of our therapists there. So we all have different areas of expertise that we focus on, and the team has actually grown since then, so there's a few more of us. And some of us do couples work, some of us do family work. All of us provide individual therapy. We all work remotely via telehealth, and we're all, just happy to help and happy to take on clients when the time permits. And so reach out to us. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at North Node Therapy, TikTok also North Node Therapy. I have a YouTube channel, Therapy and Melanin. That's the and sign, Therapy and Melanin, where I try to provide some videos talking about different topics regarding mental health.
Let me find out. I had to book you on this show to find out all of the wonderful things that you do. I had no idea that you did a YouTube channel as well. I'm definitely going to, whatever number you are at, consider yourself having another subscriber.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
subscribers
that
as well. Dominique,
and that she loves reggae and soca music in both colors.
I love I love it so much that I had to find a way to fit it into my work site, right? But I do. I love me some reggae and some soca. Yes.
Okay. Well, see, that's one of the things that I really love is humanizing therapy by humanizing ourselves and letting people know, listen, we're not special people. We just have decided to work with some people. But we are in the same struggle, and I think that commonality is important, as you stated. What do you see as the next phase for Black therapy? What do you think is going to be next or needs to happen in order to get more of us in the chair?
I think in order to get more of us in the chair, we need to get more of us as therapists, right? Because I think that, again, I can only serve but so many. Each clinician can only serve but so many. So I think that for every time one of us graduate, and get a job or start their own private practice, there is going to be someone who says, I'm so happy to see you. I want to work with you, right? There are so many like women who reach out to me. Do you know a Black male therapist? My husband would love to. Do you have a Black male therapist that works with kids? We all want therapy. We do. At some point or the other, as we're learning and we're hearing about the value, because like you said, mental health now, it's the big buzzword, it's the big thing. So as people continue to become educated on mental health, we are reaching out. We do want it, but we want it from our people. And so I hope that there are more and more of us going to school focusing on mental health so that we can continue to serve our community.
Now, you mentioned that you were from Jamaican descent. How do you see in therapy those cultural views normalized in therapy? So, each of us does something different, in our culture, or something that the popular culture might frown on. How is that massaged into your therapy, or therapy for other people who are from different backgrounds?
That's a good question. I don't know the direct answer to that. I'll tell you that, sitting in therapy sometimes with clients, and next, we're both speaking patois because we both get it. Right? Or we, right? Or we just, or we're both referencing a song because we just get it, right? So we can have these shared moments where it's just like, yeah, girl, remember that song there? Oh my God, remember? And we could just break out in patois and have that moment because we both, speak that tongue. So I'll say that that's something that me and my clients who are of Jamaican background have in common, and we're able to sometimes just, again, have that human experience where it's not even about therapy. It's just two people talking.
Connecting.
Two people connecting. There you go. Thank
I'm
you.
Bayesian, I understand.
Absolutely. There you go.
Glad to hear you.
There you go. So a lot of my clients are surprised. It's just like, you know about Carnival? And I'm just like, I'm a Caribbean girl first. Like, why wouldn't I know about Carnival? Like, or they're just like, do you know this song? Of course I know that song. I'm a Jamaican woman. Why wouldn't I know? And I'm married to a Trinidadian. So listen, I got it covered. You understand? So my clients, sometimes they think like, because we're therapists, I don't know, we live in this little bubble where we're just like, all day long after
you're not actually human and people.
Right. But it's just like, we're people and we have lives, and I listen to music and I vibe. And so I'm with you and I get it.
You come to therapy with your experience and your background, and you cannot disassociate that from what you do.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. Yep.
Yes.
One thing, what is one way you get new clients, and I guess new therapists too? Is it mostly through word of mouth, through the practice you do, and people sort of see the work through other people? Or what was I gonna ask just now? It was helping people understand that therapy isn't as daunting as they think it is, where it can't just be a conversation, so what happens in transition between somebody just like living their life and then discovering they want therapy and then finding you?
So we definitely get a lot of word of mouth referrals, which is good, right? Because then if someone didn't believe in therapy, but their friend told them about it and they're saying, hey, I actually go to this therapist, or I go to this practice, you should go. That puts someone at ease because now they know someone that they can trust who's saying, hey, come. So we definitely get a lot of referrals from existing clients or former clients, as well as I have a Psychology Today profile. That's where a lot of my clients find me. I have a Therapy for Black Girls profile. So a lot of clients find me there. Social media, Instagram, TikTok, I'm into all that. So people find me there, YouTube, my website. So I think a little bit of Google, but I think the majority of my referrals are word of mouth, Psychology Today, Therapy for Black Girls. How do I find employees? I think that was the other question that you asked. I post my jobs on Indeed. just like I used to find jobs back in the days. Indeed.com hasn't failed me. And so I think the majority of my staff has come from Indeed.com. And yeah.
Now, being a social worker myself, that I know that traditional psychotherapy is one where the psychotherapist is usually distanced from the client in terms of self-expression. But as a clinician of color, how do you find that is different in your practice?
So I will say that there's been some growth and I don't know if the word is growth or transition. Definitely when I went to school, I learned that we don't self-disclose and we don't touch and we don't, we're this blank slate that clients know nothing about. And so I definitely started practicing in the field with that mindset. Over the years, especially I think with Black clients, I feel so connected to my clients that even if I try to remain a blank slate, things just come out of me. Like I said, I'm sitting there talking to a Jamaican client and next thing you know, we're both speaking patois. I didn't plan that, it just happens, or a client, references a song and I'm just like, yeah, and we have that moment. So I have learned that obviously therapy is my client's time. So I am not going to consume my client's time talking about myself. I do minor self-disclosure if I think it's relevant and helpful to the therapeutic process. I have come to realize that I have clients that have been with me for 2 and 3 years at my practice. It's natural that they're curious about me and want to know a little something. Depending on the question, depending on their curiosity, sometimes I answer. I feel like, okay, this person has been coming to me. I think it's natural to want to know something about the person that you've been sharing with. So I think that I have switched up my style and found my own style outside of what I've been taught to just remain a blank slate. And I try to make myself as relatable as what I think is appropriately possible for the client-therapist relationship and therapeutic process.
Wow. What type of advice would you give to someone who might be on the fence about therapy? Or what type of myths would you like to debunk about therapy?
The first thing that came to my mind when you said myth is that you're not going to necessarily be laying on somebody's couch, right? You could be sitting in a chair, and that therapy is not always going to be this, every session, let me say that, is not always going to be this session where it's this deep uncovering of your pain. Sometimes therapy just feels like you're having a conversation with another person, but it's primarily more focused on you. So something that I say to clients is, this might be one of the only relationships that you have where it's okay for you to be selfish, where it's okay for you to just come in and just talk about yourself and be have to worry very little about how the other person, meaning myself, is doing. And that's okay. So you should take advantage of that time, come in and just really focus on yourself, talk about you, how you're doing, and have your needs met in this relationship. And so that's what I would say. The other thing that I would say to someone that is that has their reservations about starting therapy, I say, remember that you're not stuck in therapy. If you come to therapy and you have your first session and you don't like it, you don't have to go back. And so therapy doesn't have to be this thing where it's any more.
Right.
Say it again. I think someone's saying something.
It's not a sentence.
There you go. Thank you, Roland. It is not a sentence and you're not mandated. And so you definitely look at therapy like dating. You go, you have that first session, that first date. Is this therapist a good match for you? If they are, then you schedule your second date or your second session. If they're not, you don't. You go back out there into the world and you find another therapist for you that's a better match. And at no point at all do you commit yourself to a therapist that's not a good fit for you, right? And so that's what I would say. I would say that remember that you're never stuck with your therapist, and also that the client therapy relationship or the client therapist relationship is a relationship just like any other relationship. It takes open communication to make it work and to make it effective. What I mean by that is I always tell my clients, like, listen, some sessions we're going to end up laughing. Some sessions you're going to end up crying. And some sessions I'm going to piss you off because I'm going to tell you some things that you don't want to hear. But it is what it is, right? Like, it is what it is. I definitely have clients. I'm so used to people being mad at me. It doesn't even, faze me the same way anymore, right? But it's important for you to be able to say to me, hey, you said this thing to me. I don't like it, or I don't understand it. I want to talk about it. You don't just have to take what I'm saying and sit there and be upset. This, like in therapy, it's your time to work on yourself. So a part of that is speaking up for yourself in therapy and saying, hey, you made this comment, you asked this question. I don't like it. I don't want to understand it. And the other things I say to clients is, don't feel like you missed the window to talk about what happened in therapy. If you were sitting at home stewing over our last session, bring it up next week. Bring it up 2 weeks from now. Let's talk about what happened, right? Because it's also going to get you comfortable in speaking up for yourself in your other relationships. So those are the things that I would say to people that have their reservations about being in therapy.
Okay. Now, one of the other things that I hear often with Black people is, we have a unique experience with healthcare and being non-trusting and believing in conspiracy theory to an extent. And some of the things that I've heard and still continue to hear is that the government wants to dope up our children on psychotropic medications so that they can do whatever. What's your view on Black people taking medication? Is it necessary? Is it commercialized? Is it conspiracy theory? What is your view on it?
I'll tell you, if you had caught me in my earlier days in the field, I was definitely anti-medication. I have done enough work, especially with children, where I have come to see, wow, this person does in fact need medication. And so what I say is that I get it. I have had my reservations too about medication, especially children on medication. And I have been the therapist joining forces with the family to say, hey, let's try to work through this together. If you don't want to medicate your child, that's okay. Let's try this skill. Let's try that skill. And I have come to see with my own 2 eyes and experience that sometimes medication is needed. Long story short. It doesn't have to be for the rest of that child's life. Sometimes people need medication to get them stable enough to where they can even sit and focus and learn certain skills and tools, right? So it doesn't have to be that this kid is on medication for the rest of his life or this child is on medication for the rest of their life, but sometimes it is needed. Sometimes it is needed long-term. But I am no longer anti-medication. And I don't think that medication is always bad. Again, I think that if you had I'm trying to think of an illness, whatever kind of, a cold or a fever, we wouldn't say, hey, let's just, work through it and push through that fever. We would say, hey, some ibuprofen, here, let's start taking some things. And I think it's the same thing where if someone has some sort of mental health issue, you might need to try that medication. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
And I will say this, I also feel like there is nothing wrong with trying the holistic route first, right? I do think that if someone has their reservations about medication, I think whether you're trying medication or not, there are other things that you can look at as well, right? Your diet. Right? There is a correlation between your diet and mental health. So are you eating an adequate diet? Are you getting adequate rest? Are you getting your vitamins and your nutrients, especially vitamin D? Are you getting adequate exercise? Right? Who are the people in your life? And do you have people that you can talk to? So I think that medication is important, but I think also making sure that those areas of your life that I just mentioned are also whole.
All right. When a person goes to therapy, do they have to go there for life? Like, what's your views on long-term therapy and short-term therapy, and how should we know the difference when we are looking to get help for someone?
So every practice is different. At my practice, that is a conversation that I have with my clients about what they're looking for, whether long-term or short-term. I don't expect my clients to know the answer to that all the time, and it's okay if you don't. There are some people who come to therapy because they're having an issue. They just went through a breakup. They just went through a major move to a new city. Something happened and they just need support with adjusting to this thing. And for those people, a lot of times therapy is short-term while they work through that thing. Then there are some people who, after that short-term issue, they say, you know what, I am doing better. So maybe I don't need weekly therapy anymore, but I do just want to stay in therapy. Maybe I'm just going to do bi-weekly or monthly because I just like to have the idea of someone to check in and talk to about what's going on with me. It keeps me grounded and it just makes me feel supported. And that's also okay. So I always tell my clients, like, I'm never going to kick you out of here, right? I love my clients. Long-term therapy, I think it's great. I think, again, going back to that Jewish organization that I used to work at, in other communities, I saw it normal for people to just maintain relationships with therapists. And it was just like, okay, when things are really bad, then they picked up the frequency. And when things were going great and stable, they decreased the frequency. And I feel like, okay, that's not such a bad thing, to just say, hey, a therapist is someone that I keep in my life. And depending on what's going on within my life, depends on how often I attend therapy. I also say, hey, there's nothing wrong with taking a break from therapy. There is also nothing wrong with ending therapy and saying, hey, I'm good here. And maybe when I need you, I'll be back. So it really just depends on the person and what they want and how they see therapy for themselves. And either way you put it, I think it's fine.
Question. When was the first time you ever seen a therapist?
It was the first time I ever seen a therapist. I don't know. Maybe 10 years ago. It's a long time.
Okay. But it's still like what in your adult years and not like younger.
Yeah, in my adult years. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what do you feel, how do you feel within your experience, like therapy, how does therapy affect children differently than adults because of the experience and how we view the world?
Does it affect children differently? Maybe a child is more impressionable, right? So maybe a child is going to be less jaded. So maybe it can be more impactful on a child. That's possible. And I think it also depends on the age of the child, right? Because I was a therapist in a therapeutic nursery at one point, and we're talking about kids 3 to 5, doing play therapy with them. I think that, therapy is different there versus older kids. I actually think it might be, for me, it was a little easier working with older children. They can verbalize to me what they're understanding and what they're grasping, right? So I think that for kids, sometimes it's a little bit easier to work with them in the sense that they're a little bit more open and less jaded. Sometimes in adults, we walk in with a lot of preconceived notions. And sometimes as a therapist, we just even have to spend time breaking that down about what to expect during therapy.
Now, this is a question that I hear often, so I would love to hear how you answer it. How do you help somebody who in your family, you identify them needing services, but they're resistant to going?
As they say, you can bring the donkey to the water, you can't make them drink, and I don't know if that's the best answer, but that's the answer that came to my mind. There's only but so much you can do for anyone who's not you. You can talk to your family. You can let them know that the services exist. You can go as far as making the referral, setting up that first appointment. But at the end of the day, that person has to want therapy. And it's hard watching your loved ones struggle because a lot of times we get ready for our loved ones to be better before they get sick and tired of being in the position that they're in. But people have to want therapy. And in the meantime, it can be difficult to watch, but you can't make people do anything.
That happens to be the exact analogy that I used. But it's true. So many people want better for their family members, but the family, the person, the identified person, has to see a path and blaze a path for themselves.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
all right. So, Dominique, do we have any questions on Facebook?
No, not at this moment. So, I always want to remind everybody that, this is a very open chat. We want everybody to communicate, participate. If you have any questions, comments, I did put her website for the North Node. Sorry if I mixed that up.
North Node Therapy, you got it right.
North Node Therapy in the comment section. So that way everybody could have access to it and check it out for themselves.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions before I ask? All right. We have one final question for you, Nadaria. But this is a question that we ask of all of our guests, and it's a pretty difficult question to ask. So we've asked these questions of people who are elected officials, principals, superintendents, pretty high-ranking people in society. Matter of fact, our chancellor, so many people. So, we got one final question for you. And see, our visionary, Dr. Shango Blake, was affectionately known as the hip hop principal. So what are your top 5 MCs of all time? Doesn't have to be in a row.
OMG. Now, and everybody got these 5 fingers up. Oh, Lord.
Listen, and if you want to, we can flip it over to, some Jamaican music,
Yeah, I'm about to say, okay, if we go throw in some Caribbean people, Lord. All right. Well, all right. We're going to have to throw in some Marshall. We're going to have to throw in Buju. Okay. We're going to have to throw in Beanie Man. We're going to have to throw in Bounty Killer. And I'm going to throw somebody in there from the hip hop world. Jay-Z is the person who's coming to my mind, okay. Yes. And of course, right. I mean, and then of course I am a Beyonce fan also, just for the record. So yes.
It's going to be hard to get some tickets there, but
listen. I'm gonna have to watch, the recordings.
But it is with outstanding pleasure that we give you the honor of being parent, teacher, student check-in certified. Now you can take that validation wherever it is that you are going. You can bring it into your therapy sessions and you will immediately get breakthroughs beyond that you've already experienced. If you're looking to expand, you just bring that to the people who are responsible for your expansion. Let them know that you parent, teacher, student check-in certified, and doors will open, clients will flow, money will flow. You will be successful beyond your wildest dream.
And I am taking it all in. Amen.
Okay, so please don't leave. We are going to go into announcements. Then we're going to another portion of our show called Giving You Your Flowers While You Can Smell Them.
Oh, love it. I'll be here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you guys all once again for being here for our parent teacher student check-in. Thank you so much for our special guest, Nadaria, for joining us and really talking about her 3 practices, 3 businesses she got out here and what she's doing for the community and, really showing out as a representative of herself, her practice, her ideals, and really supporting the community. So thank you so much again for being here and being our special guest. Right after the Pantry Student Check-in, there is the After Hours with Diva Lucina, who was one of our previous guests on here, where she has her own Facebook Live show every Friday at 9 o'clock on her Facebook page, Lucina Clark, or check out her other organizations, Undercover Divas and My Time Inc., because she focuses a lot about self-care, supporting parents and caregivers, and through My Time Inc., supporting those that have autism and their caregivers because they need support as well. So this is a great person as well to learn more about and do her organizations. So check out the After Hours on her Facebook Live. And our very own Chocolate Fair has his own practice, as we all know. So check out the Black Knight LLC, providing us with multiple, just like we talked about today, the importance of healthcare, counseling. If you do need the direct access to a very strong Black man out here supporting the brothers out there and the ladies and anybody who feel like they need this support, check out Black Knight LLC. For other, he also accepts a variety of different health insurances, and you can check out your first free consultation through the phone number below. And Nadaria, can you talk a little bit? I don't remember if you mentioned what insurances you accept through.
So I did, but I can mention it. I accept 1199, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, UMR, Oxford, Oscar, MagnaCare, Northwell Direct, Medicare, and I believe that's it. We accept out-of-network coverage, and I would say that we're in the process of joining Medicaid's network as well. So I would say the best thing to do for people who are curious, just in case I didn't mention your insurance, you can always send us a message through the website, www.northnodetherapy.com, and I can gladly answer and let you know if we are in network with your insurance or not.
Great. And as a reminder to everybody, I did put this website in the comment section of the Facebook page already. So book session, go right there, boom. This is easy as that.
Absolutely. There you go.
All right. So coming back to announcements. All right, moving forward. I keep trying to change this flyer out, but we have the bi-weekly food pantry at East Harvest Village every second and fourth Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Happening at 1011 Utica Avenue at East Harvest Village headquarters, where you want to make sure you have access to fresh produce and free food in your community, especially given that a lot of people live in the food deserts, especially like in the East Flappers area, we got corner stores, but you don't always have access for affordable produce. So check out the Plentiful app. That's how you register for the food pantry. And through the Plentiful app, you'll even be able to find other food pantries within your area throughout all of New York City, I believe. I don't know if they expanded it yet, but not yet. But check out that website. If East Harvest Village is too far from you, you can check out other food pantries of different kinds, either as first come, first serve or registration wise. Definitely, be on the lookout for that. They also have other resources that they like to give out during the food pantry. So check this out. As well as our Assembly woman, Monique Chandler Waterman, that has her own free distribution at food pantry as well at Environmental Hood Restoration, at East 93rd Street and Rutland Road every Thursday at 1 p.m. So check that for more opportunities and locations for food pantry and fresh produce. As well as, our assembly member always has a lot of things for the communities to be a part of. Make sure your voice is heard. So she has organized the Vital Voice Community Meeting, where she brings everybody together to talk about different task force within the area of the Assembly District 58. So the next one will be tomorrow, May 13th at Winthrop campus at 905 Winthrop Street in Brooklyn. You know, be on the lookout for this event, especially if you live in the East Flatbush parts of Canarsie, what was that, parts of Bed-Stuy? You know, the overall 58th Assembly District, you know, covers a lot of Brooklyn. So, you know, don't want to be left out in your own community events and what your community has is supporting for you. So definitely check out this to have your voice be heard. Moving forward, East Harvest Village always organized with opioid overdose intervention prevention training with Family Service Network. Moving forward, the next one is in May 17th, which should be next week. It happens in person at 1011 Utica Avenue, just like all the following workshops I will continue to present, all happening at East Harvest Village headquarters. Okay, I hope that works. So for this information, check out the link right below. You can call the East Harvest Village office. All these things you can always call the East Harvest Village office or their admin email, or was it events with the S at eastharvestvillage.org if you want to email for information. But to register for this event specifically, check out the bit.ly/FSN-OOPT to get once you get the training, you'll learn how to administer a Narcan kit, and you get a free Narcan kit and a certificate that says that you know how to use it to save a life and sustain a life until paramedics come. And then also our partners at East Campus Community Partnership also has a Brooklyn Women's Summit, which is happening next Saturday, May 20th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's going to happen at 1561 Bedford Avenue in Brooklyn, between Union Street and President Street. So definitely check out this event. You know, we're supporting women out here. You could reach out to Cindy Reed at REIDC at jcany.org, or the phone number right there. To register for this event specifically, just type in bit.ly/BK Women's Summit 23. So that's 2 S's in there. Or scan the QR code. Check out East Harvest Village Community Partnership page for more information on this event. And East Harvest Village also, you know, has the Think First training every fourth Thursday of the month. So the next one will be on the 25th of this month from 3 to 4:15. Really supporting, helping teach kids ways to protect themselves through everyday situations that involve protecting their spine and back and head from injury, from doing sports or riding in a car. You know, it's important of, you know, wearing your seatbelt, wearing your helmet, and, you know, staying safe in your everyday life, because any small accident can cause big issues. So really just supporting our kids in their own safety. As well as the Stop the Bleed training that happens in person. Both of these happen in person at 1011 Utica Avenue. The Think First training happens to register. Check out the bit.ly link right below as well. bit.ly/OBKH-TIP. It is case sensitive, but again, for everybody to know, most of these links are already in the East Harvest Village link in the bio through the link tree, and you can click which one that you want to register for and register for them. And then as well as the Stop the Bleed training, again, happens in person. Both of those classes are limited 10 people per class because there's only one instructor. So you want to make sure you register soon. You get information about that through your email. So check out this bit.ly/EFBSTB for the Stop the Bleed, which is essentially intense first aid. If you happen upon somebody who has been stabbed or shot, you have to sustain their life until paramedics come for further assistance. And lastly, Girl Scout cookie season is almost over.
Oh no.
It is. The last cookie day is in 2 days, May 14th. Now till the end, there's free shipping, so you don't gotta worry about paying $50 extra for shipping straight to your house. But the minimum you can order is 5 boxes to get shipped, or pool your order with somebody else, then you get 2 and somebody else get 3 and somebody one, but support your local Girl Scout troop. I will put our Girl Scout link in the comment section of this video live as well. I believe it is also I gotta double check if it's in the link tree or not. But
Thank you.
Put it in the comments.
I got all my Girl Scout cookie favorites ones. I'm stocked up until July. But I have one question about the healthcare.
Okay,
We
wait.
at Fortune Society have been pushing for Narcan availability.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have that in East New York, Flatbush? Because Narcan is a reality.
Mm-hmm.
It works. I've seen patients or some of our clients who would have been dead, but within 2 seconds of the inhalation, they were alive. Is anybody doing that?
Yeah, so for this training, you get a Narcan kit right after you take this training. And they do mention that if you ever use the Narcan, or if you need to get another one for any reason, by having a certificate, you should be able to get free refills from a pharmacy. I think there's only certain pharmacies that do it. I'm not 100% sure about the logistics on that. But for more information, East Flatbush Village partners with Family Service Network, so you can check out Family Service Network for more information directly on Narcan and overdose prevention and intervention trainings.
Thank you very much.
Yes, definitely. And I think I was also going to say that one thing is, any Narcan is better than no Narcan. So if you have one that's old and you feel like it's expired, use it anyway, because it's only going to help.
I've seen it in some very tony houses in East Hampton last summer, and somebody says, "You have that here?" And I said, "It's better to have it here than not to have it, because if you don't have it and you need it, it's over."
Yep. Thank you so much for mentioning that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. And that is all for announcements. If somebody else has announcements to make, you can do so in a second. But thank you guys all for joining us for the Parent Teacher Student Check-In. We hope to see you guys join us next week for our special guest speaker. And I always want to invite our guest for today to join us again, because we're always wanting our people to participate, to continue joining us on the Zoom or on Facebook and communicating with us and asking us questions as we go along. This is a very in-depth and meaningful life lessons we're learning from our guests, from the conversations that we're having. And we're so thankful for all that we've learned today. And we always have so much fun the more people are joining us to really participate in the conversation. So, Nadaria, I hope we see you again soon.
You'll definitely see me again. I would love to be back. And thank you guys for having me today. I definitely enjoyed myself being here with you guys. So thank you. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm just saying my thank yous, but I'm definitely not leaving. I'm here with y'all till the end.
But yeah, again, if did I miss an announcement? I feel like I didn't know. But yes, if anybody has any announcements to make, please do so.
Where is the man?
Yeah, I know. That's what I figured.
Well, don't worry about it.
I don't know where it went. I don't know. Oh yeah, no. Yeah, didn't I share it last week too? And I'm like, so why is it not in the folder?
Don't worry about it.
Nah. We have to worry about it. You know why? Because this is the Interagency Alliance. We're the men meeting. All right. We want to make sure we're supporting our community, making sure violence isn't taking over our streets, and putting our words to action from this Monday from 6 to 7:30 at 157 Connecticut Avenue. You can join us again on Zoom right there on that Zoom link, or check out Chakra Fear's Facebook Live page to be a part of that conversation. If you have any questions, you can email into Ancient Alliance, but most likely just join the Zoom and be a part of the conversation. It'd be so much great to really, put our words to action, talk about community. What can we do to support each other? And that's what I got.
Thank you.
Ron, please tell me, you mentioned there was other events that wasn't East Harvest Village. I did mention the Vital Voice. I don't know if that's one of the things you're referring to, but Ron, what were the other events that you guys are participating in?
Yes, we are supporting the Vital Voice with a Assembly member this weekend, but we also have a Mother's Day sale that's at that we're supporting at from Farragut Road between Albany and Albany Avenue and 40th Street. It's a fundraising event, so we'll be out there just volunteering and helping out. But we also have the Haitian Flag Day parade and tabling event tomorrow. So the
Woo!
parade, yeah,
Say
the
Wait,
parade
I need a
starts
flyer. Where's the
North
flyer
Trinity
for
Church.
that? No flyer for that?
I sent you the flyers on WhatsApp.
How did you have? Wait, I don't see it. When? How long ago? I see nothing. Oh, you put it. Oh, okay. That's why I got confused because you put it in the group chat. I'm here looking at your name and I'm like, oh yeah, look, let me just share my WhatsApp real quick. There it is. There it is. I want to make sure I got it. Everybody can see all that's going on.
Thank you.
There we go. Right. This
Great.
is the Haitian Culture Day.
Oh, nice.
Here, what we got here? It's in Little Haiti.
Yep.
Starting from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
So it's
Start
Brooklyn and Foster.
There you go.
Oh,
And
cool.
that's at Brooklyn and Foster. Tomorrow, and then going back. This is the Mother's Day sale that he was referring to. That's
Yes.
also going to happen tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Farragut Road between Albany Avenue and 40th Street. All right, it's a big fundraising event. So, so support the mothers out there. I'm in Florida, if anybody didn't know, so I will not be there. And then lastly is the same thing that this one here. Is this old? There we go. All right, there we go. This is the same. Is it the same? This is not the same.
Yes, it's just
Okay.
it's the same Vital Voice.
Okay.
It's just
Yeah, it's just an updated flyer. I get that.
Yeah.
But this is
no, it's different.
Okay. Got it. Okay, but yes, it's the same Vital Voice happening May 13th. But it's focusing on in partnership with the Spring into Health, focusing on our Mother's Day this weekend. So support your mothers. Doors opening at 11 a.m. With Sesame Fly is always a part of it. So yeah, activities for all ages. Cool. All right, this is a majority of our events. We hope everybody had taken a lot from those. I'll stop sharing my screen. Thank you guys so much for your events. Again, if anybody has any last minute, Nadaria, do you have any events that your organizations have going on?
Not at this time. No. Thank you. Thank you for asking them.
Yes, and you also mentioned your book though, like you've been revamping that.
Yeah, I am. I'm revamping my journal. It's called the Creating Change Guided Wellness Journal, and it should be out in about I'm thinking by July. So I'll definitely share it with you guys when it does come out.
Great.
Thank you.
Hey. All right, so we come to our portion of the show called Giving You Your Flowers While You Can Smell Them. So, Miss Nadaria John, thank you so much for coming by here. Your life has been a testament of getting out of your own way and focusing on not what can go wrong, but what can go right, and having the courage to take one step. And each particular step that you take offered you a different perspective in terms of where you were going. And where you were going is huge. You have a wonderful, robust life at this point. but there's only better from here as well. So you came by here and you let us know so many things, talked about your Jamaican descent and the amount of self-share that you do within your sessions. You spoke about medication, you spoke about the length of therapy, you spoke about so many things, but the most important thing that you did is gave us an opportunity to see you and experience you as a person. And that is most important, because in business, you don't buy from anyone who you don't like. You don't do business with anybody who you don't like or you see yourself in. And you came and showed so much of your humanity and who you are that you've motivated some of us to say, hey, wait, you have a session for me? And that's important, because while we've done that, there are other people who are watching this program who are also seeing exactly what it is that you are doing, and the way that you humanized yourself in such a way, I'm sure has allowed some people who might have been on the fence to say, listen, I need to be a part of that. I need to be where that therapist is. I like the way she talks. I like her vibe. I like everything about her. I can get better with her. And we know that everything starts with a belief, because whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. But if you believe that you are going to be successful, then the job is already halfway done. But
Amen.
that would not have happened if you had not come by and laid down this track work in the way that you have, and showed us a glimpse of exactly what the future of Black therapy can be and should be. Removing stigma and providing more therapists for more Black people to relate to is going to really give us an opportunity to heal like we never thought before. So thank you so much. And you've been a blessing.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. And I appreciate receiving my flowers while I'm still here. It definitely feels good to be seen and to sit here, and I've gotten to talk about myself with you guys on this platform. So I appreciate this so much. And I appreciate the invitation to come back, Dominique. So I will be back. And thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. I feel blessed.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much for being on here. I loved everything you had to say. And, even though these guys wanted to just have you as your therapist, I want you to be like my closest friend right now, because it's like, I feel like we made it.
Definitely. Thank
You
you
made
so
a
much.
wonderful connection.
Thank you.
But thank you for coming and participating in the parent-teacher student check-in. Thank you, Brother Roland,
Thank you.
for coming by. My wonderful co-hosts, Ron and Dominique. Certainly appreciate it. And we look to bring you yet another show next week. We're going to push through some things and make sure that you have some fresh bread on the table every week. All right?
Absolutely.
So take care. And
Stay safe.
we'll
Happy
see you
Mother's
later.
Day.
Happy
Thank
Mother's
you.
Day.
And yes, take care and enjoy your weekend, everybody.
You too.
Bye.
Yes.
Take care.